Developing inner resilience is one of the most valuable personal qualities a person can cultivate. It is the ability to recover quickly from adversity, to maintain mental and emotional stability under pressure, and to continue moving forward when life becomes difficult. This kind of strength doesn't come from avoiding hardship. It grows through facing challenges, learning from them, and building the confidence that you can handle what life throws at you. It's not about being unaffected by stress or pain, but rather about adapting to it in a healthy way and refusing to let it break you. At its core, inner resilience starts with mindset. The way you interpret events, setbacks, and your own role in them has a powerful influence on your emotional state. People who are resilient tend to have a growth mindset. They believe that abilities and intelligence can be developed over time. When they encounter failure, they don't see it as a sign that they are inadequate. They see it as an opportunity to learn and improve. This shift in perspective is subtle but powerful. It creates a foundation for persistence and self-trust, two critical elements of resilience. Another key aspect of building inner resilience is emotional awareness. This means being able to recognize and understand your emotions, even the difficult ones like fear, anger, or sadness. Instead of pushing these feelings aside or trying to escape them, resilient individuals acknowledge them without judgment. They understand that emotions are signals, not enemies. By accepting what they feel and then choosing how to respond rather than react, they maintain control over their actions and decisions. This emotional intelligence allows them to remain composed in high-stress situations and to recover more quickly from emotional wounds. Self-discipline also plays a significant role in developing resilience. Life is full of moments where the easy path is to give in, to quit, or to avoid responsibility. But resilience is built in the moments when you choose to do the hard thing even when you don't feel like it. Discipline strengthens your ability to stay focused on your values and long-term goals, even when motivation fades. This internal consistency fosters a deep sense of trust in yourself, and that trust becomes a steady anchor in turbulent times. When you know that you can rely on yourself to act with integrity, no matter how you feel, you begin to feel truly strong inside. Another component of resilience is the ability to manage stress. Stress itself is not inherently harmful. It's a natural response to demands. But chronic, unmanaged stress can be overwhelming. Building resilience involves learning techniques to reduce the impact of stress on your body and mind. This might include mindfulness practices, such as meditation or deep breathing, which can help calm your nervous system. It might also involve regular physical activity, which has been shown to reduce anxiety and depression. Even something as simple as maintaining a consistent sleep schedule can have a huge impact on your ability to cope. The more you care for your physical health, the more prepared your body and mind are to handle life's pressures. In addition to these individual strategies, resilience is reinforced by your ability to set boundaries and make decisions that support your well-being. This means saying no to things that drain your energy or compromise your values, and saying yes to habits and relationships that nourish you. Resilient people take responsibility for the environments they place themselves in. They understand that while they cannot control everything, they can make choices that make them stronger. This sense of agency, the belief that you have influence over your life, is central to developing resilience. A resilient person also learns to reframe adversity. Rather than seeing hardships as unfair punishments or permanent problems, they interpret them as temporary challenges that contain lessons. This doesn't mean pretending that pain doesn't exist, but it does mean choosing to focus on what can be learned or how one can grow. For example, losing a job might be devastating at first, but it could also be a turning point that leads to a more fulfilling career. When you train your mind to search for meaning rather than just suffering, you build an outlook that supports recovery and growth. Support systems can play a role, but when the goal is to be strong enough to survive alone, it's essential to know that your primary strength comes from within. While it's healthy to seek help when needed, you also need the capacity to stand on your own emotionally and mentally. This means developing a rich inner life through journaling, reflection, reading, and creative expression. That helps you stay grounded even when you're physically alone. When your inner world is stable and fulfilling, you're less shaken by what happens externally. Ultimately, building inner resilience is a lifelong process. It's not a destination, but a practice, something that is strengthened every time you choose courage over comfort, responsibility over blame, and learning over helplessness. It's in the day-to-day decisions to show up fully, face discomfort, and keep going that resilience is formed. You may not always feel strong, but every time you fall and get back up, that strength is growing. This kind of personal power is subtle but unmistakable. You begin to walk differently in the world, not arrogantly, but with a quiet confidence that no matter what happens, you will be okay. You trust yourself to endure, to adapt, and to thrive. You become the kind of person who can be alone without being lonely, who can face loss without losing themselves, and who can move through uncertainty with clarity. That is the essence of inner resilience, being rooted in your own capacity to survive, to grow, and to keep living fully even when it's hard. It is the strength that carries you through life, not because it shields you from pain, but because it teaches you how to transform it. Building self-reliance is about developing the ability to depend on yourself emotionally, mentally, financially, and practically. It is not about rejecting help or isolating yourself from others, but rather about cultivating the confidence and capability to handle life on your own terms when needed. At its heart, self-reliance is an internal strength, a quiet power that grows when you take ownership of your life and stop waiting for someone else to solve your problems or fulfill your needs. It is about becoming the kind of person who can stand alone, not because you have to, but because you are capable of doing so. The first step in building self-reliance is recognizing where you are currently dependent. Many people rely on others for emotional validation, decision-making, financial support, or even motivation to act. While there's nothing wrong with receiving support from those around you, problems arise when you can't function well without it. Self-reliance begins with honest self-assessment. You must ask yourself whether your choices are truly your own or if they are driven by the opinions and expectations of others. Are you living a life you designed or one you inherited without questioning? True independence starts when you take responsibility for your own path. Taking responsibility is a major turning point. It means acknowledging that your life is your responsibility, no matter your circumstances. Blame and excuses dissolve when you decide that you are the author of your story. This doesn't mean denying that outside factors affect your life is full of external challenges and limitations. But self-reliant individuals focus on what they can control, their reactions, their effort, their mindset, and their actions. They don't wait for someone else to fix their situation. They look for solutions and take action. This shift in thinking turns passive living into purposeful living. Decision-making is another key skill in self-reliance. Many people struggle with choices because they fear making the wrong one. This fear often leads to indecision or over-reliance on others for guidance. To become more self-reliant, you must learn to trust your judgment. Start small, make daily decisions with intention. Choose your priorities, schedule your time, and define your boundaries. As you practice making decisions and dealing with the consequences, you'll become more confident in your ability to navigate uncertainty. Mistakes will still happen, but each one is a lesson that strengthens your decision-making muscles. Financial independence is another major component of self-reliance. While money doesn't buy happiness, the lack of financial stability can create enormous stress and limit your freedom. Learning to manage money, earn a living, budget, and plan for the future is essential. This doesn't necessarily mean becoming wealthy. It means having control over your finances so that you are not constantly dependent on others or trapped by debt. It means understanding the value of money, living within your means, and making informed financial decisions. Financial self-reliance gives you the freedom to make choices based on your values rather than desperation. Self-reliance also involves developing practical life skills. The more capable you are in handling daily tasks and responsibilities, the more confident and independent you become. This includes skills like cooking, cleaning, time management, communication, problem solving, and basic home or personal maintenance. When you know how to take care of yourself and your environment, you feel less overwhelmed by life's challenges. These skills may seem small, but they add up to a life that runs more smoothly and efficiently. They reduce your reliance on others for things you can and should handle yourself. Another important part of self-reliance is cultivating emotional independence. This does not mean being emotionless or never needing connection. It means being able to regulate your own emotions and maintain inner stability regardless of external circumstances. People who are emotionally self-reliant do not base their worth on the approval or attention of others. They understand their emotions, process them constructively, and take care of their own mental well-being. They are comfortable being alone, not because they dislike others, but because their sense of self is intact whether or not they are in a relationship or surrounded by people. Being self-reliant also requires self-discipline and motivation. Without someone standing over you, you must learn to set your own goals and hold yourself accountable. This is not always easy, especially when faced with setbacks, boredom, or the temptation to procrastinate. However, self-reliant people push through these moments by staying connected to their purpose. They develop habits and routines that support their growth. They understand that waiting for motivation is not effective action itself often creates the motivation needed to continue. Each time you follow through on your plans, even when you don't feel like it, you reinforce your trust in yourself. Self-reliance often involves solitude. Learning to be comfortable alone is an essential part of growth. When you spend time alone, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. You gain clarity about your thoughts, desires, and values without the noise of outside influence. This solitude is not loneliness. It is a space for self-reflection and alignment. Many people fear being alone because they are not at peace with themselves. But as you build self-reliance, you discover that your own company can be a source of strength and inspiration. The path to self-reliance is not always smooth. There will be moments of doubt, setbacks, and even loneliness. But these are not signs that you are failing. They are part of the process. Growth comes from persistence. Over time, you begin to notice changes. You respond to problems more calmly. You depend less on others to boost your confidence. You begin to see yourself as someone who can handle life, no matter what comes your way. This transformation does not happen overnight, but every small step matters. Being self-reliant does not mean rejecting connection, community, or love. In fact, self-reliant people are often better partners, friends, and colleagues because they are not clinging to others out of neediness or fear. They choose relationships based on genuine respect and mutual support, not dependency. They bring their full, whole selves to the table, which strengthens all their interactions. When you don't rely on others to complete you, you free them to simply relate to you. This kind of clarity and balance leads to healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Ultimately, building self-reliance is an act of empowerment. It is about stepping into your own power and realizing that you are capable of guiding your life. It is about trusting yourself, honoring your values, and choosing to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable every day. When you are self-reliant, you no longer live in fear of what might happen if support disappears. You know that you can take care of yourself. You become grounded, focused, and resilient. You become free. Strengthening life skills is an essential step toward becoming a capable, confident, and independent individual. Life skills are the practical abilities and behaviors that allow you to effectively manage the demands and challenges of everyday life. These are not taught in a single class or learned overnight. They are developed through intentional practice, experience, and a desire to grow. When you invest in building these skills, you gain the tools to navigate life with more control, clarity, and competence. You stop relying on luck or guesswork and start relying on your preparedness and awareness. One of the foundational life skills is communication. The ability to express yourself clearly, listen actively, and understand others is vital in every area of life, from work and relationships to daily interactions. Strong communication means more than just speaking well. It includes reading nonverbal cues, empathizing with others, asking thoughtful questions, and resolving conflicts without escalating tension. When you know how to express your needs and ideas respectfully, and you know how to listen with patience and understanding, your personal and professional life improves dramatically. You avoid misunderstandings, build stronger relationships, and earn trust more easily. Another vital life skill is time management. Time is one of the most valuable resources you have, and how you use it directly affects the quality of your life. People who manage their time well are not necessarily busier. They are simply more intentional about how they spend their hours. They prioritize important tasks, eliminate distractions, and maintain a healthy balance between work and rest. Strengthening this skill means creating routines, setting clear goals, and learning to say no to things that don't serve your purpose. When you manage your time wisely, you reduce stress, increase productivity, and create space for growth and enjoyment. Financial literacy is another crucial area. Understanding how money works, how to earn it, save it, invest it, and spend it wisely is fundamental to long-term independence. Many people struggle financially not because they don't earn enough, but because they haven't developed the discipline and knowledge to manage what they have. Strengthening this skill includes budgeting, avoiding unnecessary debt, understanding interest rates, and planning for the future. It's also about developing healthy habits like tracking expenses, building emergency funds, and investing consistently. Financial stability gives you freedom to make choices based on your values rather than fear or pressure. Problem solving is a skill that applies in every situation. Life is full of unexpected challenges, and your ability to calmly assess a situation, identify possible solutions, and take decisive action is what separates stress from success. Strong problem solvers don't panic or complain. They evaluate, plan, and adjust. They see obstacles not as permanent blocks, but as puzzles to be figured out. This mindset builds confidence because each problem you solve reinforces your belief that you can handle whatever comes next. It also helps you avoid the paralysis that often comes with fear of failure or uncertainty. Critical thinking goes hand in hand with problem solving. It's the ability to evaluate information objectively, consider different perspectives, and make reasoned decisions. In a world full of noise, opinions, and misinformation, critical thinking helps you filter out what's irrelevant or misleading. It allows you to form your own judgments rather than blindly following others. This is especially important when making life decisions about your career, relationships, health, or personal beliefs. When you think critically, you become more self-directed. You're not easily swayed by trends or peer pressure because you've developed the habit of analyzing situations thoughtfully. Adaptability is another life skill that often goes overlooked, but is deeply important. Change is a constant part of life, whether it's a new job, a shift in your relationships, or an unexpected setback. Your ability to adapt determines how well you cope. Adaptability is not just about enduring change, it's about embracing it, finding opportunity within it, and remaining open to new ways of thinking and doing. When you're adaptable, you stay resilient. You don't cling to the past or fear the future. Instead, you meet new situations with curiosity and flexibility. Another important skill is self-care. This includes taking care of your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. Many people neglect self-care because they see it as indulgent or secondary to productivity. But the truth is, if you don't take care of yourself, you will eventually burn out. Strengthening this skill means understanding your limits, managing your energy, getting enough sleep, eating well, exercising, and making time for activities that restore you. It also involves setting healthy boundaries and recognizing when you need rest or support. When self-care becomes part of your lifestyle, everything else in your life functions more smoothly. Decision-making is another practical skill that affects nearly every aspect of your life. Every day you're faced with choices, some small, some life-changing. People who struggle with decision-making often feel anxious, indecisive, or stuck. Strengthening this skill involves trusting yourself, gathering relevant information, weighing pros and cons, and then taking action. Even if the outcome isn't perfect, making a decision and learning from it is better than avoiding action altogether. With practice, your choices become more aligned with your values and goals, and your confidence in your ability to decide grows stronger. Goal setting is another life skill that helps bring clarity and direction. When you know what you're working toward, you're more motivated and focused. But goal setting is not just about writing a list of dreams. It's about creating specific, realistic, and measurable steps toward your desired outcomes. It's about breaking big ambitions into daily actions. Strong goal setters review their progress regularly, adjust their plans when needed, and celebrate small wins along the way. They understand that progress is not always linear, but persistence pays off. Finally, one of the most important life skills is self-awareness. This is the foundation of all personal growth. Self-awareness means understanding your strengths, weaknesses, motivations, and patterns. It's the ability to observe your thoughts and behaviors without judgment, and to recognize when you're acting out of habit rather than intention. When you develop self-awareness, you gain insight into how you affect others, how your past influences your present, and how to make more conscious choices. It's the key to personal alignment and emotional maturity. Strengthening life skills is not about perfection, it's about progress. It's about becoming more competent, more conscious, and more in control of your own life. These skills give you the freedom to live with intention rather than reaction, to handle life's challenges with clarity, and to shape your path with purpose. They don't eliminate problems, but they give you the tools to face them with confidence. Each time you practice and refine these abilities, you build a stronger foundation for your independence, your resilience, and your personal fulfillment. Embracing personal growth is a decision to live life with purpose, curiosity, and an open heart. It means choosing to evolve rather than remain stagnant, to seek understanding rather than settle for assumptions, and to strive toward becoming the best version of yourself. This journey is not about reaching a final destination where everything is perfect. Instead, it's about continual self-discovery, learning, and transformation. Personal growth is a lifelong commitment that shapes how you see yourself, how you interact with others, and how you respond to the world around you. The decision to grow begins with self-honesty. You have to be willing to look at yourself clearly without distortion or denial. This involves acknowledging both your strengths and your weaknesses, celebrating your successes while also being honest about the areas where you fall short. Many people avoid this kind of reflection because it can be uncomfortable. Facing your flaws and insecurities can feel like admitting failure, but in truth, it is the starting point of real strength. Growth begins where denial ends. When you stop pretending and start seeing yourself as you truly are, you give yourself the chance to change and improve. Once you've made the commitment to grow, the next step is to develop a mindset that supports that growth. This means letting go of the idea that you are fixed in your ways or defined by your past. Personal growth requires a belief in your capacity to change. It's about replacing a rigid mindset with one that welcomes learning, challenge, and progress. Every experience, good or bad, becomes fuel for development. You stop labeling things as failures and instead begin to see them as lessons. Each setback becomes a teacher. Each uncomfortable moment becomes an opportunity to strengthen your character. A big part of personal growth involves taking responsibility for your life. It's easy to blame circumstances, other people, or luck for the way things are. But as long as you're focused on what's outside your control, you remain powerless to change anything. Embracing growth means accepting that while you cannot control everything, you are in charge of your attitude, your decisions, and your effort. This shift is empowering. It gives you agency. You begin to see that you are not at the mercy of your life. You are an active participant in shaping it. Another essential element of growth is the willingness to leave your comfort zone. Growth rarely happens in places of ease and predictability. It shows up when you try something new, take a risk, or challenge a deeply held belief. The discomfort you feel in those moments is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a signal that you are expanding. Whether it's speaking up when you normally stay quiet, applying for a job that feels just out of reach, or choosing to forgive someone instead of holding on to resentment, each act of courage stretches your capacity and moves you forward. Personal growth also involves developing emotional maturity. This means learning to manage your emotions, take ownership of your reactions, and respond to situations with thought rather than impulse. Emotional maturity doesn't mean you stop feeling things. It means you learn how to work through your feelings in a constructive way. You stop blaming others for how you feel, and instead you start understanding your emotional triggers, setting healthy boundaries, and making choices that reflect your values rather than your moods. Over time, this emotional discipline creates a sense of peace and self-control that radiates into every part of your life. Self-discipline is another powerful part of the growth process. To develop new habits, reach goals, or improve in any area of life, you need consistency. There will be days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or discouraged. Growth happens when you keep going anyway. It's not about grand gestures or perfect routines. It's about small daily actions that align with your bigger vision. Every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, no matter how small, you build trust in yourself, and that trust becomes the foundation of greater growth. In the process of growing, it's also important to be patient. Personal growth is not instant. It doesn't come from reading one book, attending one seminar, or having one breakthrough conversation. It unfolds over time, often in subtle ways. Sometimes you won't even notice it until you look back and realize how far you've come. There will be times of rapid change and times where progress feels invisible, but both are valuable. The quiet seasons of reflection and integration are just as important as the moments of action and transformation. A key part of personal growth is also learning from others. Growth doesn't happen in isolation. It's nurtured through relationships, experiences, and exposure to new perspectives. Listening to others, especially those who challenge your thinking, can open up new pathways in your mind. You begin to see that there's more than one way to live, more than one way to interpret events, and more than one kind of wisdom. Surrounding yourself with people who are also committed to growth can inspire and push you in meaningful ways. At the same time, personal growth means knowing when to distance yourself from people or environments that keep you stuck. Growth often requires healing. Many people carry wounds from the past experiences that created fear, shame, or limiting beliefs. Embracing personal growth means being willing to do the inner work of healing those wounds. This might involve therapy, journaling, forgiveness, or simply giving yourself permission to feel what you've long avoided. Healing doesn't mean forgetting or excusing what happened. It means reclaiming your power and refusing to let the past dictate your future. As you heal, you begin to grow in self-compassion and strength. You stop identifying with your pain and start seeing yourself as whole, even if you're still in the process of becoming. Personal growth also means aligning your actions with your values. It's easy to say what matters to you: integrity, kindness, courage, but it's much harder to live those values consistently. Growth asks you to walk your talk. When you act in ways that match your principles, you experience inner peace and clarity. When your behavior contradicts your values, you feel tension and dissatisfaction. By paying attention to this alignment and making adjustments, you build a life that feels authentic and meaningful. Ultimately, embracing personal growth is an act of self-love. It's choosing not to settle. It's refusing to live on autopilot. It's the quiet but powerful decision to keep learning, to keep reaching, and to keep becoming. The journey isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Because as you grow, you not only improve your own life, you become someone who uplifts others, inspires change, and contributes something valuable to the world. Growth isn't about being better than anyone else. It's about being better than you were yesterday. It's about honoring the potential inside you and living fully into it. And that, more than anything, is what makes a life rich, resilient, and deeply fulfilling.